At Blackfoot Communications, our mission is to connect people, businesses, and communities to their networks in Montana and beyond. Through Blackfoot sponsorships, local ambassadors, and public programs, we support initiatives such as the Emergency Broadband Benefit, fiber deployments, and community events. For information on our commitment to improving our communities with fast, reliable, and secure internet access, go to blackfootcommunications.com/news.
Is everybody ready?
Good.
Well, welcome. It's good to be back here on a Monday talking about a upcoming game for another week. Really pleased with the way our guys prepared for Sam Houston, and obviously more so with how we played. And I think it was evident by the comments that our guys made after the game. They went down there with complete confidence, and things really fell into place early for us, scoring offensively, getting the takeaways, and being able to open up that lead against a real good team. And they kept coming after it and made it interesting, but we were able to tack on a couple more scores. And anytime you get to this point in the season, gaining momentum in a game is so big. Not giving up, taking it back if you don't have it, and we certainly had it, I think, for the most part of that in that game. And it was all three phases. We aimed to outrush them, and we did that. We needed to win the turnover margin, and we were +3. And then, explosive plays, they had a few, but I think by and large we limited them, and we made some ourselves. And special teams wise, it was almost negated. So pleased with our effort, and we live to fight another day. We have a really good program in South Dakota State coming in here, much like Sam Houston. They had a full season in the spring. They had a couple more games under their belt this fall. They were obviously right on the doorstep of a championship last year, but they've been really close for a long, long time. Coach Stiglmeier's, done such a great job there. He actually took over as head coach my senior year playing, so I don't know if that dates me or him or both of us. But a lot of respect for what he's done with that program. Back and forth quite a bit in my time at NDSU, and he's continued to raise their profile in the last time since I've been gone. So we got our hands full. They lost some games, and their seeding didn't end up happening for them. But it's not a surprise to me that they're a semifinal team, one of the Final Four, for just how they've been able to play over the years, and at times how they've played this year. This is where they belong, I think. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
How helpful is it going to be to have another home game, especially against a team that's going to be on the road for 3 straight weeks?
Yeah, it's really helpful. I think you guys all know we have a venue here, a crowd base here that can really impact a game. And I know they've gone on the road back-to-back weeks, and they haven't been in that environment. I think it was 2,000 some in Philadelphia, and it was a pretty sparse crowd in Sacramento. So that has to be a difference maker for us on Saturday. The familiarity of just playing in your home stadium, sleeping in your own bed, doing meetings in our own facility on Friday, not having to travel. I think that all does help. But it's still about, how we go out and prepare, and then, how we can execute between the lines on Saturday.
Any memories from your playing career or coaching career against SDSU that really stand out?
Oh, it became a really good rivalry once we both moved up in 2004 to the FCS. My playing days, it wasn't our top rival. It was North Dakota at that time, but certainly some back and forth affairs. And once we moved up, he started playing for the Dakota Marker Trophy, and we played them in the playoffs. And I know they have since, so it's it's one of those rivalries where it's crossed state lines, but it had become very heated, with a lot of respect going both ways at the same time. And Coach Stiglmeier's longevity there, a lot of those staff members have been with him for quite some time. They've got a good thing going, and I'm fully aware of what they're capable of, and that's over the long haul of losing games we didn't think we should, and just victories that came really came to us in a really hard fashion in several occasions.
What are your thoughts on their offense? Just what do you see from a scouting perspective?
Well, they're extremely balanced. First off, just numbers wise, they're about 50-50 yardage wise. I think their offense certainly starts with the running game. So very good up front, very good at tight end in the running game, and then they have as good a back combo I think as anybody in the FCS. Quarterback wise, obviously that decision to bring Chris in was big for them with the injury back in the championship game. That was a big blow for their program. They found a way to answer that problem, I guess, and he's done a really good job. He's completing the ball well, running their offense well, and then on the perimeter they have the Yankee twins that are very effective receivers, explosive receivers, and then they got a couple tight ends, that are I think between the both of them have about 80 catches. Kraft has over 50, and he's a guy that I'd recruited at Wyoming, and so very familiar with him. And so just a very well put together offense, and they don't ask probably any one player to do too much. They have a lot of guys they can lean on, and it does start with their guys up front. Though they have a really good offensive line.
They seem similar to you guys with rushing numbers, in both defense and offense, similar wise, and then obviously great back at the top. Does that kind of change, or how does that affect kind of game kind of compared to last week with a little different?
Yeah, I think it's similar to last week. I think you look at numbers, there's a lot of things that do line up with, I think this time of year, teams wanting to run a football and needing to stop the run. So those elements of, what we were able to do on this past Saturday, I think that'll continue to be true. And, they're a little bit different, from a run scheme perspective. I think they're better equipped up front. They're maybe, Sam Houston was really dynamic on the perimeter, but that's not to say South Dakota State isn't either. They probably get the ball to their guys a little bit differently. But I think we're going to have to play really well on defense, which we're capable of. We're going to have to stop the run, and we're going to have to put pressure on the passer, and that's been our calling card all year, and we have to be able to do that again this Saturday.
What run scheme wise, what's different?
Oh, just more to it. They're shoot inside outside zone, pin pull, power game, counter game. Coach Eck, their play caller, is an offensive line coach by trade. So they're really well schooled up, and the staff by and large has been together for a while, and they got a lot of experienced players. So I think with that, you ask them to do a little bit more, and they've chose to do a little bit more. And probably a better suited play action game off of all those schemes as well.
Defensively, what Sam does too as well?
Very consistent, I think, with their approach, their effort, where they're supposed to be. I think it's for them defensively. It does start with their front. They play a lot of guys. They're able to get pressure on the passer. They've been very effective against a lot of different run teams that make up the Missouri Valley. And different than maybe Sam Houston, they play more coverage. We knew going into Sam Houston it was going to be a heavy dose of man, and we would get matchups out there almost every play if we wanted. In this game will be different. They'll throw a lot more at us from a coverage perspective, and they're just a well-schooled team on both sides of the football. A lot like we pride ourselves in being. So I think there's a lot of similarities between the two programs, how we want to do things, what our approach is. So it'll come down to whoever does what they do better. I mean, it's really as simple as that.
Can you say anything more about what happened with Eric before the game, I guess?
Eric didn't practice all week. Wasn't able to practice. I'll just leave it there. You know, he'll be back this week. It was nothing disciplinary and nothing like that. It was an injury, and he just
He'll be ready
yeah.
Saturday.
Yep.
And what about Ty Chase and then Troy? I know he's banged up.
Yeah, I think we're probably in wait and see mode with everybody that you'd suspect was a little banged up out of that game. And by wait and see, it's kind of getting through today a little bit more to find out maybe severity in any one case. But anytime Ty Chase they go off the field and they get in street clothes, that's serious. So we're hopeful, but we'll see how the next couple of days play out.
I know TJ, he was kind of in this December.
Yeah. He was back out practicing today. First time, and from a practice perspective, he's been out doing some things with the training staff, but first time out practicing. And what that means as far as inserting him back into the lineup, I'm not sure. We've been really pleased with how Rush has played. He's really responded well, and I think we felt like he was a guy that had a lot of ability, and sometimes it's just a matter of getting out there and realizing it's maybe not as complicated as you think. So we'll see, what that means for TJ, but it was good to have him back out there today, and just see that he's making some strides like we anticipated this time, that would happen at this time.
Coach, how do you keep the team fresh, like both physically and mentally at this point in the season, especially when it's just been such a long season at this point? How do you keep everybody feeling good on both physically?
Yeah, I think we've tapered back practice, and that probably goes back to after our first bye, when we've had a chance to take some time off. I think having the bye first week of the playoffs was big. So earning that opportunity to get refreshed and recharged, was big. I think if you're a competitor, if you're a teammate made up of competitors, you're going to find a way. I think this week's a little bit different. We have finals this week, Monday through Thursday, so we'll adjust some things with the timing of practice. But in this day and age, it's not that you have to sit in a classroom and take tons of finals. So I think our guys have some flexibility, and even were able to take some last week. So I think it's a different week, probably a less taxing week as far as time goes in classes and those type of things. Obviously, finishing off strong with finals is very important. But no, I think our guys are in a good frame of mind as far as being fresh. And this is 13 games for us. They're 25 games on their side in the calendar year, so I don't know exactly where they're at, but I imagine they're really hungry at the same time. So when you're hungry as a team, I think you figure out how to bounce back. But physically, I think it's it's in part we've cut back. I think we came into the season in great shape, and our health has been tested, but it's been okay at the same time. So it's kind of a combination of a lot of things.
And then the Philly special.
Yep.
Put that play. How was that drawn up? Who created that? And how pleasing was it to see it kind of come to fruition?
Yeah, I think whoever drew it up before Philadelphia did, I think that went back quite a ways. I don't think they invented it either. That was probably just the biggest stage that play had been run on. And we ran it in a similar fashion. So Coach Housewright and the staff put it in and practiced it a bunch last week leading up. And you don't know if you're necessarily going to get that opportunity or how it's going to present itself. So saving it for the fourth quarter or whatever isn't the way, that I talked to Coach Housewright about approaching it. You get an opportunity to run it. And, there it was. It was second and goal. I think we got a couple on first down, and it was as good a time as ever, and it was a really, to cap that drive off with a touchdown versus a field goal was huge. So to utilize it there when you think, okay, their man, the probability of this working is very high, it was pretty smart to use it then.
How important is it, and how beneficial is it to gain that momentum early on in the game?
Oh, it's huge. I think you're going on the road against a team that had won all those games in a row, was a defending champ. I think for us to go out and grab the momentum for our sake was big, but then also to start putting some doubt in their minds, I think it probably worked both ways, and then we were able to follow it up Trey's interception, the touchdown the next play, and then that builds our momentum up even more and their doubt. So I think it was in that particular game, it kind of went like wildfire. It doesn't always work like that. Sometimes it becomes this back and forth affair where you grasp it, you lose it, you grasp it. But in that game, I think we got it in a big time way, getting up 28-0. And even though they did some things to close that gap, I think a couple times to 16, it was never like we lost control, I guess.
Was that play, having Tommy, was that kind of crucial, being able to run that play, or what you have done with any quarterback?
Oh, I think you can run it with anybody. I think Nick Foles is a solid athlete, but I think it's more about you got to have someone that can throw it, and we joked about it a little bit. I think Willie is more capable, but I think you get out there, and he had his gloves, gave him a little bit of an issue, and he was so wide open you don't want to screw it up. So, no, I think as open as that play was, it could have been just about anybody.
Yeah, so you kind of gave Willie some grief after that?
Yeah. I did it in the moment, yes, but he got it done. He got the job done, and was able to bounce back right the next play offensively and score another touchdown. So hard to give him too much grief.
I know you've spoken highly of Tommy's performance in practice. With his performance, I don't know if justify is the right word, but do you feel like you were kind of everyone was able to kind of see what he was capable of throwing the ball? Yeah,
no question. And the way the score ended up opening up, we didn't have to throw the ball nearly as much as we thought we would. I think he only threw it 11 times. I know we had a couple, pass interferences that you'd tack on top of that too. But, in a game like that, and with our guys on the perimeter, starting with Lance, hey, just put it somewhere in the vicinity, and we'll make plays. And we did that a couple times. Shoot, his throw to Willie was as good a throw as you can make in that situation. It was great to see Nate have some opportunities as well. So yeah, I think it validates that I don't know, to the outside world, let's say, whether that's fans or opponents, that, hey, this kid, beyond Coach Vigen getting up here and saying he's a quarterback. And, he's worked really hard at it. I think that's the thing, that's got to be the message, for future players here. Hey, you don't know when your number's going to be called. You might be doing some other things. Keep working at your craft, whatever that position is, because he did that even though it wasn't built into practice a whole lot, and he just continued to get better and better, and was able to, has been able to, answer the call here in these two starts.
Were those interceptions that they threw, especially the first two, more just good plays for you guys, mistakes by him?
Yeah, the first one, I think Trey's length really is what threw him off a little bit. He's trying to fit a ball. He was scrambling, so we'd got him out of pocket. And Trey's a long dude, and that was I think he thought he could get a ball by him, and he didn't. The other two, I thought Jeff made a really good read on that play. Whether he thought Jeff was going to stay on top of it. I know he was under a little bit of duress on that play, but not as much. And Simeon's was. I think we fooled him coverage-wise on that one. I think he thought he saw something and it became something else. And, we were able to do that, I think, several times in that game, to be able to show something and have it become something else. So credit to our guys, credit to our coaches, making it really hard on a really good quarterback.
Coach Keeler said that your defense is like a well-choreographed dance and everybody's in the right spot. What does Freddie do and the players and you and others kind of do to make it so well choreographed like that?
Well, I think it's a year-round process. It goes back to spring ball where we try to get as many reps as we can. So that's guys learn faster by being on the field. We go against each other maybe in some different fashions than most. When you have a running game that can go against the defense, I think that benefits the defense every bit as much as it benefits the offense. They get a chance to see all those schemes, and that becomes your foundation. Spring ball becomes your foundation. And then I think, as we move along, the fall becomes even more of that as far as our reps. We just have more guys in camp. And then each week, leave no stone unturned, I think is how our staff approaches it, how our players approach it. And, the reps we get on the practice field are one thing, but walkthroughs, the film room, our guys I think, know their jobs inside and out. And we do make some mistakes, but they're pretty rare. Our guys understand leverage. I think back to that first scrimmage back in the spring, we did not understand leverage at that point. So that's a credit to our coaches moving on from that day, and our guys understanding and continuing to want to be the best players they can be, and understanding taking coaching is a big part of that. Going out and playing just because you have ability is not going to get it done in this defense. Playing within the scheme is how you want to do it, and that's why moving to this scheme and bringing in Freddie was so important to me, because I've seen it on the other side, for the last almost 2 decades. Just a well-oiled machine, week in and week out. Didn't matter who we played, what scheme they ran. Our guys generally were really prepared, and when you can do that and you can play fast, it all adds up. We have good players, don't get me wrong. We do have good players defensively, but they're very well coached, and they want to be coached. So I think it's a combination of all that.
With guys like Ty, Chase, Troy dealing with things, it seemed like guys like Rylan, Ben, Danny were making plays around the ball. Just what do you think of your depth at each of those positions?
Yeah, I think first off up front, that was something that I think all season I've talked about, us playing 10 guys and feeling comfortable with 10 guys, because we've stayed relatively healthy, but it's been some guys have emerged through that. Some guys have played bigger roles in particular games than others. We got those guys being Sam Houston, in a little bit more of a catch-up mode certainly, so we were able to go with a little bit more speed than size, and I think that maybe helped us a little bit on Saturday. But throughout the season, guys have stepped up front, and Chase is our best interior guy. But going back to the one game he didn't play, it wasn't like we played bad in that game. Those guys stepped up and played as well as they could play, and that's what we'll need moving forward. Whatever Chase's role can be. And I think, Rylan Ord's been really patient and waiting for his opportunity. He's essentially been backing up all 3 of our safety nickel spots. That's the first time he's been called on for major action, but he's been ready to go. And he's a guy that really jumped in our mind in spring ball, and had a lot of opportunity to continue to get better in fall. And it's just has been continuing to prepare. The number of practice reps that put him in position to be able to go out there on that stage and play, really hard to quantify. It'd be a ton of reps, and with reps comes confidence, and you still got to go out there and play and perform. But once you get out there, much like I was talking about with Rush, okay, you see that's maybe not as complicated as it looks sometimes standing on the sideline. So, I know Danny and Alex got in there just a little bit at the end. They've played more in some games than others with Nolan's absence. So I think it's been the theme, that next man up. Well, you can say next man up, but you better have the next man up ready to go. And I think our coaches have done a really good job, and the way we structure things in the spring and the fall allows them to do that without compromising reps for anybody at the end of the day.
You mentioned Simeon. How important has his steadiness and healthiness obviously been for?
I can't tell you how big his play has been. He's been our constant at corner. We've had a little bit of a revolving door outside of his steady play. So James is back in there, plays the whole game, and James really hadn't played a lot going all the way back to Portland, I would think. He's played a little bit, but not that much. I know Eric's played more. Tyrell's been out there at times, but Simeon's been the steadying force. And you usually don't, get that out of a true freshman, but his demeanor is unusual, I think, for a true freshman. He's extremely competitive, and it didn't take for him to be playing down in Texas to get that going, but I'm sure playing down close to home in front of family and friends was a bonus. But no, he's to say he's been a godsend, he has been. He's had a heck of a year.
Coulter, do you have anything?
Yeah, hey, Coach. A couple for you. First, Daniel Hardy mentioned after the game that defensive line is basically everybody's a starter at this point because you guys have rotated it so heavily. I know you've talked about that element, throughout the year. But how big of a difference does it make when not only can those guys fit in and play, but also make plays? I think Blake Schmidt, Ben Seymour both had sacks. So when those guys can step up and not just play but make plays, how much does that help you guys?
Well, that's what we need, and I think our scheme calls for that. You know, it does start with our effectiveness up front, and you know, I think those guys that are maybe getting 10, 15 reps, you know, we're getting everything they have in those 10, 15 reps, and there's some talent for sure in those positions, those young guys. You know, Sebastian he went from that backup role to become a starter, and you know, he's been very effective. He talked about Blake Schmidt there. I think he's emerged as of late. You know, Ben Seymour's made a bunch of plays lately. Brody, you know, his continual improvement has been big, and then you know the old pro and Byron Rollins. I think he's continued to be a really solid player for us. David Alston's one that doesn't get a whole lot of credit, but David's been able to, you know, go out there and be effective. Blake Heel. So, you know, that group has taken for us to have all those guys understand their role, play their role, and understand each week it might look a little bit different. That might go from 10 plays all of a sudden to 30, and they're all ready to contribute however they can.
You mentioned Rylan Orr, but he's a guy that I know he's always been praised for his mental ability to pick things up, and I think that probably speaks to the fact that he is learning all three of the safety spots. So how has that helped him, and what have you done, just his progress, being ready when he was called upon?
Yeah, Rylan, for a young player, is, you know, I think he's really smart. He's very competitive, you know, and he's also been very patient too. And so his primary role has been, you know, next man up, and then play his role in special teams, and he's done that very well. And you know, now that role, you know, likely could change here moving forward. We'll see, but you know, I appreciate just how I think he sees himself as a regular, even though his regular snaps haven't been too significant. I think he understands that I better be ready to go. I'm one play away, and that could look a lot different based on, you know, which spot I'm playing. And so to give us that versatility speaks to his intelligence, but also just speaks to how locked in he is, and you know, really appreciate him for that.
Thanks, Coach. I'll talk to you again tomorrow.
All right, sounds good.
All good.
You know, for that nickel spot, are any of those other guys capable of playing that spot, or is Rylan kind of the cleared back?
So Taden Gilman, you know, has been out there a bunch, and Taden's kind of a cross between the strong safety and the nickel. So he would probably be another guy that we could look to. Kendrick Bailey's been out forever. He was out there practicing today. He's been easing back in the last couple weeks. You know, Kendrick was slotted more as the backup free safety. But yeah, he's been out for a long time. Tyson Pottinger's a young first-year player that's played just in one game on special teams, but he's really, you know, in some ways, he's been a play away for weeks on end now. You know, and really like Tyson's development, so he could be in that position as well.
You want to keep Simeon, James, and Eric at corner, I guess?
Yeah. Yep.
Tyrell's still out there.
Yeah, I assume so. Yeah, the way that thing's going. Yep.
All good?
Yeah.
Thank
Yep.
you. Thanks, guys.
Yep.